How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the DIY Survival Guide, Episode 2. My name is John, and this is the Cauldron of Burgers YouTube channel. If you watched the first episode on being assertive and being that person, I thank you. I hope it helped. I hope it wasn't too vague. I hope I gave a good enough insight on why it's important to put yourself out there. This episode's going to be a little different, not just because I clean my head up and my beard, but because I'm going to be covering just a bit different of a topic. I hope that maybe it's in line with or sort of canonically with the other with being assertive. I think it might. I'm not sure just yet. These thoughts that I have are pretty new in my brain. I do just want to share them with you because I feel it's important. I'm not going to be covering this topic the same way that most YouTubers are. And the reason I'm actually bringing this to you is because I want to attempt to offer a bit of a different perspective on the topic of this video. And I guess instead of being incredibly vague with it, I will just come right out and talk about it. So procrastination amongst creative people is a widely talked about topic. But mostly in the vein of trying to beat it. If you are looking for sort of a one-stop shop to or a method in beating procrastination, this might not be the video for you. But if you are looking for just a bit of a different perspective on how to view it, I think that this might help. And like I said, I'm going to be formulating these thoughts. They are very new in my head, as new as this morning. So forgive me if I'm stumbly, I'm stuttery, or I sort of do a loop where I start thinking of a thought and then I round it out and I come back to it with a new perspective. That's kind of just how my brain works. In my usual scrollings of YouTube, I started noticing that there's this new kind of trendy creative self-help video. It's very aesthetic. There's nice plants. They got nice furniture. They got I don't know, pastel colors in their room, and they're like, pull up a cup of mushroom coffee and stop snorting fucking dopamine, and it's ruining your process and ruining you reaching your highest potential. And there's so much pressure still, it's very contradictory in a way, because it's like I feel like what they're trying to say is like chill out, but even still they're saying like change your entire life around because it's ruining your life, and it kind of makes this big ball of point of singularity in which you're supposed to chill out, but you're supposed to do everything you're uncomfortable with because you're obviously going to those videos for a reason. You are uncomfortable with something that you are doing, and you're looking for any kind of salvation or help. But I'm not knocking those videos in any way. Like, they have a lot more viewers than I do, and like clearly people enjoy them. So there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. I'm not saying that, but I guess maybe if I were to critique something, I think that there's from what I gather, even though there's footage of maybe them doing what they're doing, there isn't like any sort of canonical timeline. They don't show where they sort of got their grit. It's kind of vague, and they always sort of preface it by saying things like what's something, they're like, oh well, this worked for me, but I can't say that it'll do the same for you, but this is my experience. And then it's kind of just like it's advice more than it is giving some kind of again, like it's a timeline of grit, like where they really achieve these things. And I feel, a lot of people aren't comfortable with showing the whole process. I am. Like, I will show you my most horrible drawings, and just show you like this is the timeline of suck to current greatness or things I'm proud of. But yes, I feel like the things that they're saying are not bad. But I think the things that they are saying are, it just seems a bit too linear in a way that doesn't, like, I don't see enough about like I don't see anything to show for it. You know, like I like maybe so a well crafted YouTube video and maybe like a business newsletter or something like that, or you know, I'm not gonna knock people that actually just have a successful like web store selling their art, but people that just don't have enough, it's almost like credit, like people who don't have enough credit, like you know, like you know how like maybe like a company won't give you a new credit card because you don't have enough credit. Like I start to feel that way when I watch a lot of these videos. And this is just my personal opinion. You don't. I could be wrong. It's just maybe I haven't seen every single video on YouTube, so I can't I can't exactly form a 100% accurate opinion. But yes, when people cover the topic of procrastination, a lot of times they talk about, like, again, ways to beat procrastination. If you're stuck in a hole, then here is a bunch of things that you could do to not be in the hole anymore and claw yourself out. And I guess as I sort of marinate on a lot of these things, like I said, a lot of the things are good, but I I have or I've come to sort of an epiphany, and I think my view on the matter has changed. Procrastination is something that every artist struggles with at some point in their life. It's really just the act of putting off something you feel is important to you, and kind of running off and maybe burying your head into other things, some more cheap thrills and cheap distractions. Um, but ultimately, it is, by most people's definition, having something wonderful and great to do, or uncomfortable to do. The two can be synonymous or not. And just not doing it, avoiding it. Again, I think avoidance and distraction are the two key words for procrastination. I'm not going to give you a dictionary definition. I'm not a fucking dictionary, but that's what it is, if you ask me. Um, but yes, so again, it's something that people oftentimes demonize, and I guess through all of my ums and gibberish and roller coasters and introductions, I want to introduce a new way to view procrastination that I haven't seen much like talk on, however you say that. But sometimes procrastinating is not because you're lazy. You're not procrastinating because you are lazy, or you're not good enough, or you don't have the tools. Sometimes it means that the thing that you are trying to make is not ready to manifest itself in the physical world. I'm not a physicist. I'm not any kind of guru or whatever, but there's something to that. There's been many points in my life where I've really tried to swan dive headfirst into really big, ambitious projects that were way above my capability. I was very valiant that I wanted to try, but ultimately my execution wasn't correct at the time. And despite attacking it, I ultimately burnt out and then put it off, put it away. Back sort of wherever those things are stored in my brain. But yes, sometimes it means that the idea is not ready, or that you're not ready. You're not like, so think of it this way. Now, when your body feels fear or hunger or something like that, your body is going to adapt. Your body is a beacon. It's a compass. It's like it reacts to things like a magnetic field or some shit. But your body will react to your needs. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are hungry, your body will react in such a way that you will seek out food, and you will achieve getting food, hopefully. Maybe not before there were supermarkets. Maybe you would get eaten by a bear or something like that. But the point stands that when your body needs something and is followed by an intense blinding desire for something, you will find a way to achieve that. If you are scared of something, your body will react in such a way that you will avoid whatever the danger is. That's what anxiety is. That's what fear is your body kicking into a mode where it needs to supplement and adapt to danger. And a lot of times that means getting away from the danger. Now, when you're like procrastination is sort of it's a reaction to the fear of maybe like, or the anxiety of a big project. Now, this isn't like, I'm not taking credit for this. A lot of this I have to credit an author named Stephen Pressfield, who wrote a book called The War of Art that covers this way better than I can. But I recommend it. It's a really easy read. It's a short read talking about what he calls that forced resistance. But you know, I guess there's a couple ways that I can look at this, or we can look at this together. And forgive me if I start talking in loops and refining the loop, because that's kind of just how I formulate these thoughts. But when you are avoiding a project, like say you're writing a book, or you are recording a record, you're writing music, or you're writing a comic, your avoidance of that is there is something there trying to tell you something, whether it's your own subconscious fear of not being able to deliver, or it is actually some outside force basically telling you that either this is not ready or you are not ready. Yes, that's going to cause something where you're here, the idea is here, and it's it's like almost like the sides of the magnet that don't stick together. I've actually found that procrastination has led me to better work. I know that sounds crazy, but again, sort of with the factors that I have previously mentioned in this video, there are times where I attack something, I get burnt out because either I don't have the stuff to do it, or well, no, I guess really I don't have the stuff to do it. My skills aren't exactly up to par with what I feel the idea is truly meant to be, if that makes sense. There's just this incubation period, or this marinating period that happens, mostly because if the idea is still there, even after I've kind of put it down and taken a deep breath, and sort of taken my time getting back to it, if the idea is still there for me to remember to pursue it, that's a good idea, because that's an idea that's not leaving you alone. I'm going to repeat that. I believe that a good idea is not an idea that is going to make a lot of money, or per se. I mean, it could, hopefully it does for you. A good idea is one that will not leave you alone. It bothers you in your sleep, it bothers you while you're taking a shit, it bothers you while you're working, it bothers you while you're eating, it bothers you while you're doing anything important. That's how you know that's something that's like, hello, let's do this. Feed me. A prime example that I could give you in my world is my first full-length adventure story. It was 3 issues, called Quest for Materiality. Now, I drew the final versions of Quest for Materiality in 2021. I graduated college, got my degree, and I was kind of ready to use my visual arts degree in a way that it's a little unorthodox. I just started my publishing company. I got a DBA and a bank account, and I just kind of hit the ground running. My music career my bands were doing pretty well at the time. I was kind of coasting off of people enjoying my music, and therefore being interested in my art. And I decided to strike while the iron was hot and go for this Quest for Materiality. But Quest for Materiality was an idea that I thought of not really around the time that I drew it. I thought of Quest for Materiality, and I actually drew the first pages of Quest for Materiality back in 2016 when I first started taking interest in drawing again. And I had this idea for this barbarian girl that sort of just attacks, is moving through, I guess, sort of this like open, muggy meadow, and she's hungry, and she sees this like a cow, and she's gonna attack it, and then turns out the cow is this big monster that she has to fight. But yeah, Quest for Materiality was a story that I attempted to draw. I realized that the initial pages that I drew just weren't up to par. I did not have the skills to finish a comic yet, because I also had very minimal time after work when I was 22, 23 years old to actually come home and have the mental capacity to draw full-length comic pages. I was driving a truck in New York City every day, and that is enough to take years off your life, and I did that for a couple of years. Yeah, but Quest for Materiality, it didn't have a name. It was just Barbarian Girl Attacked Cow. It sat in the back of my brain for about 4 years before I decided to finally dust it off with, I guess, the knowledge I had from art school and whatnot. Now, people might not even consider that procrastination, because I was actually just actively working towards I don't know, a goal, a common goal. But, you know, 22, 23-year-old me was always mad at myself because of the fact that I wasn't taking into account the fact that I was tired after work. I wasn't taking into account the fact that I hadn't seriously drawn since I was probably 12 years old, you know? Like, I didn't take into account a lot of those things, and eventually, yeah, I burnt out. I moved on to other things, and I really put off this idea until it felt right again. So again, that 4-year period of not working on this comic it was super helpful, because again, I'll do a side-by-side comparison. The results are 10 times better, and even from this copy, so I finished this series in 2021. As I said, it was pretty much January to July it took me to get three. It was about 60 pages, 60 maybe 60 plus pages worth of comic pages. I started working for a print shop recently, and my manager also is a big manga head, super into zines and publishing. When I started working there, I got super excited. I guess before I really even jump into that, I'll give you sort of the how I left off with this series. I ended up from Cauldron of Burgers Press. I did 7 titles in that year. So there was these 3 books. I don't have the other ones on me at the moment. I will flash them across the screen. And then I did 4 quarterly zines that year. So I was going ape shit drawing. I must have drew like 150 to 200 pages that year, and I must have sold about 300 zines out of my room, which I was very proud of, but I burnt out. I couldn't, but, excuse me, by Rick and Morty, I couldn't conceptualize moving on from that. I had done too much in a small amount of time, and I actually started a job at a print plant shortly after that to sort of, I guess, work out the kinks of my printing process. And those were 12-hour days, 6 days a week. So I couldn't even think about drawing. It sort of came at the right time. But I was hoping that at a certain point I could get back on the saddle again, and draw just something, maybe get back into some kind of series or what have you. But there was a long period, I guess it would be 2021 to this year, 2024, where I took Quest for Materiality out of print. I declared it sold out because I didn't feel like printing more copies. Yeah, so I got really excited when I started this new job. It was a little bit more close quarters. It wasn't a commercial print plant. It was a small mom and pop sort of. It is a small mom and pop print shop, and there's a little more time for me to ask questions. And my manager said, "Yeah, fuck around, do whatever you want. If you want to send me stuff, I could print it, whatever." So that's kind of what I did. That was a couple months ago. I made a refined, um, uh, even better version of Quest for Materiality on nice paper. I don't know. I gotta get in the habit of just like doing B-roll instead of holding these things up. But I guess it's better to have both. But some really cool pages here. Or rather, I think that this is its ultimate form, and this took me. It took me 3 years of not thinking about the series to get it done, or to dust it off again, to maybe just to carve it into something new. I'm really into like bands that do that, bands that will have 3 or 4 different versions and live versions of the same song, because it's like, why should it end at just the one thing? Like, why can't you refine it? Is it because, are you afraid that the consumer won't understand it? Well, the consumer will have to just be happy with whatever you put out and whatever you decide to do as an artist. And that is a syndrome that I feel like is really dying with the age of personalization. Is the consumer, like the customer, is they're not always right, but you do. It is in your best interest to serve them in a way that feels genuine and comfortable for you. Even currently, I am working on a new series that I've attempted about 3 times. Now, this I'm a little weary on showing you any sort of I guess pages or sneak peeks. I'm gonna do some live drawing videos of this or just ink with me pencil sort of things soon. So I'm gonna refrain from giving any B-roll. But the series that I'm working on currently is called All in a Day's Work, which I thought of when, if you watched the last video, I was living, no, sorry, in the same time that I was working on those first drawings of Quest for Materiality, I had thought of All in a Day's Work, as in, it was I wanted it was a story about a food truck, a guy who runs a coffee truck and delivers to or brings snacks and breakfast and all kinds of provisions to job sites. But there's a twist that I don't want to give away just yet. But I also thought of that story in 2016, and then I moved away. I tried drawing it. I think it was 1 page in my sketchbook. Around the same time that I had drawn those pictures of Quest for Materiality in its drawing board phases. And that it took me about, how long would that be? I think even more. So I guess Quest for Materiality it was 2016 to 2021 was sort of the whole attempt at marination process. All in a Day's Work would be 2016 to, I guess it would be 2023. So it was another 2 years before I actually fully attempted to start drawing that book. And I struggled. I did 3 pages of it. I actually ended up selling one of the original pages of it. But I got through 3 pages of it. I was trying to do like a webcomic thing, but it was all hand drawn. It wasn't rendered the way that I wanted it. And I also just kind of, I burnt out. I went to other things, and I just put it away for a while. And I thought maybe eventually I could come back to it. I started doing actual webcomics with it, which I actually have printed here. I'll roll some B-roll for that as well. I know you're going to get tired of me explaining every single edit that I do, but this is also for me editing to make my life easier. But I started making webcomics. I did 3 actual webcomics of it, like Procreate and everything. It wasn't just my scan pages. And I was really happy with the results. And it actually sort of opened the door for me to start experimenting more and being okay with digital art and making comics digitally, because for a long time I was super adamant about just ink and paper. That's a whole other video I'm going to cover. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that how long would that be? It was 2016 to, so that would be 7 years of me thinking about it, attempting it, and now I'm finally at a point where I have all the tools that I need, all the skills, and I'm even my mind is open to the idea of digital art, and the pages are exactly what I would hoped them to be back in 2016. So that was a 7 year period of me procrastinating. Like the thoughts were constantly there. So that, I mean, I guess that definition is open to interpretation. If maybe subconsciously I was working on it, but I think the moral of the story here is that maybe it's maybe just to wrap it up and just give you a nutshell. Maybe procrastination can be your friend, as in it's the friend that is telling you as your friend, not just as someone who's trying to be I don't know, nice to you, a kind friend who is telling you, like, maybe this isn't the time, maybe there will be a better time. And sometimes it's an uncomfortable truth, and I think that's why people want to escape it so much. There have been like plenty of projects that I have taken years to get to the starting line with, aside from Quest for Materiality and All a Day's Work, like records that I wanted to write. Not because I was like sitting there working tirelessly, sweating beads at my table, and playing guitar, playing drums, and like fucking working my ass off to prepare for. No, it's like sometimes I was just going to work and then going home and then making dinner and watching cartoons or something. Like I wasn't like, it was just like more or less the thought of like, that'll be cool one day when that happens. Not beating my, like, no, and I'm not actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go there, because there was plenty of times in my life, especially as someone in my early to mid 20s and then my late 20s, sort of approaching adulthood. I guess some would consider that adulthood, but I approaching my 30s, sort of that countdown. There was a lot of times I put very unnecessary pressure on myself, because my definition of procrastination was, and my view on procrastination was still from a very like self-deprecating, super high pressure point of view. And again, I hope that, especially if you are working in some shape or some way, shape, or form, to get things done, even if it is that mental preparation, that's a win. If you're refining the idea before you want to make sure that you're prepared, that's a win. I was just reading an article. I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's coming out. The book is coming out on Humanoids Press. It's oh god, I wish I'll put all the information like here. That guy spent 20 years finishing this book. It's 500 pages. It took him 20 years to finish the book. And it's amazing. It's beautiful. Had he been pressured to do that in 6 months or a year, the book probably wouldn't look the way it does, and he probably wouldn't feel proud of it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you're going to get a lot further as a creative person, not demonizing things and not demonizing yourself. I think there's a difference between that and being diligent and being and still, I guess, working hard in whatever ways that you can find the capacity to. You could practice every day. You could draw every day because it excites you, or because you feel that it's maybe if you're going to discover something. But I would try and refrain from thinking about doing something every day as as a, I guess, a sword and shield against procrastination, or rather, I don't want you to think that, and this is again another word of the day for this video. I don't want you to think that practicing every day will linearly bring you to good work. practice is maintenance. So practicing drawing is it's keeping the machine greased. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to like you're not taking the next rung on the ladder towards your New York Times bestseller. It simply means that, and this is again my opinion, my point of view, and I hope that it helps you. It means that when the time is right for you, and this is outside of you, I believe, when the time is right for you to finally deliver on this idea, you will be that much more ready to do it. This practicing every day does not bring you closer to the idea. And again, like I said, the New York Times bestseller, but it keeps you ready. It keeps you strong. It keeps you keeps your wrist from cramping up. It's the same thing as like if you practice whatever clarinet every single day, you might learn how to sound like Kenny G, but you're not going to be writing the stuff that Kenny G wrote just because in like however much time that he did it, because you practiced that amount of time. These things might not manifest themselves as like a worldwide success for decades, you know. One of my favorite top 5 artists of all time, a guy named Frank Zappa, his commercial successes weren't until he was 40 years old. I mean, Joe's Garage and Chic Your Booty were like well into his career. I have somewhere to be, so I'm gonna attempt to round out this video one more time. I'll give you a recap. So, procrastination could be your friend. It doesn't have to be this terrible pressure. It means that, again, either you're not ready or something outside of you is letting you know that it is not time. It is not the proper time for this idea to happen. It doesn't mean it won't happen. And for that, I definitely would recommend just chilling out. You know, just like try not to worry so much. And because as I said at the beginning, you know, things will come very natural to you. Your body will tell you what it wants and what it needs and what it has to do, because it will very naturally do it. Just like eating food, just like sleeping when you're tired. Your body, when the time is right, it will move towards that pen and paper, and the idea will flow the way it should, and feel natural, and all the things that you'd hope it would. It you know, that'll lead me to my next point, is that practicing could definitely, I think that it could speed up the process a little bit. As in, you know, there is something to be said about being in the act of showing up and getting over the wall of I guess it would be like, as Stephen Pressfield would say, resistance, and stumbling upon something while you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and getting over the frustration and actually like finding the good qualities in it from just chipping away at it. I also believe in that, but there are times where that doesn't work. So I'm going to tell you that don't rely on practice to, I like to do in this, rope in your best work. It is not a linear process. Practice will keep the machine greased. It might give you a couple better ranks as far as your skill level goes in whatever it is that you're doing. You might go from a blue belt to a purple belt in gourmet cooking or whatever it is that you're doing. But don't view practice as a way to avoid procrastination, because you could, it's the idea of like you could spend 10 hours or 10,000 hours and achieve the same results. It just depends on how you want to and how you might have to spend your time. Yeah, and the thing is, timing is kind of everything. And I don't know if us as artists have as much control of timing as a lot of aesthetic, self-help, creative YouTubers might say. And I guess they don't totally like claim that, but they do imply it in sort of in such a way. So I figured that I would, I guess, just try and put a little more realistic perspective, and I guess maybe not. I'm trying to say something else. I can't seem to get it out. I'm trying to give you a bit more of a realistic perspective, and maybe a new perspective that is a little less self-destructive. Because as artists, there really is no fucking need for that. That type of self-deprecation and that kind of pressure really does. It is influenced by the outside world that, for some reason, does not want you to succeed, or can't conceptualize someone succeeding doing something they want. I hope this helps. I hope that if you are sort of staring, the road is sort of stretching like you're on the highway and you have to take a shit and there's no exit, I hope that maybe this relieves the pressure that you will be able to shit when the time is right. I hope that this provides a little insight. I am not someone who has and this is something I wear proudly. I am someone who has, I've been quite prolific in my life, in my creative life. Like I said, I did seven zines just in a year. Cauldron of Burgers Press has done like over 10 to 15 zines. I've been a part of 30 or so records. I'm currently in 3 bands. My output is still it's pretty substantial, and this is telling you all the things that I told you. So, and this is helpful for me too, because again, I think maybe there are times where I have overproduced or produced a lot, because of the fact that I put so much pressure on myself, but I have pretty much achieved the same quality of work and achieved the same feelings of productivity and I guess, productivity and achievement from chilling out and making sure that the work was the best that it could possibly be. I guess that I could have saved a lot of minutes and say quality over quantity, but that's not always true either. So yeah, before I start really going over the rabbit hole, I said like 7 videos I can make through this. I'll see you later.